Well, I'm really happy to be here tonight, and I enjoyed hearing the search process. I think I know our next reality TV show for local TV. And I will say, with the climate of sports in San Diego, it's nice that the home gal won here, huh? Well, like I said, I'm really happy to be here, and I was asked to talk about Tamara because I'd worked alongside with her for about the last 10 years. And they said, come and we just want you to talk about things about Tamara that people don't know that are really wonderful. And as I was getting ready to make this talk, I was kind of stumped. But not because it was hard to know what's wonderful about Tamara, but I'm like, what is there about Tamara that people don't know? And I think the reason for that is because anyone who talks to Tamara for 2 minutes feels like you know her. And you feel like she knows you. So everyone who's chatted with her prior to today, or if you just kind of had a quick conversation, you know that she's genuine and she's authentic. You know that she's honest and she governs herself and the work she does with tremendous integrity. You know that she's passionate. You know that she's outspoken about her passions. You know that she's incredibly intelligent and she's very well formed. And if you ever see her in a situation where she's not the most well-informed person the first time you talk about a topic, she will certainly be the most well-informed person the second time you talk about that topic. And you know that she loves her work almost as much as she loves being a mom, a daughter, and a wife. But I wasn't going to give up. I was going to think of something to tell you that you don't know about Tamara. So if you lean in, I'll tell you something that you don't know about Tamara. You ready? Contrary to what you think, Tamara is really only 5'3". But she so masterfully and consistently wears heels and wedges that people go knowing her for years. I was working with her for 1.5 years until she popped off her shoes and I realized that she was not really taller than me like I thought she always was. And the big red hair only helps to serve that. Well, another thing that you may not know about Tamara, because it was working alongside her for a period of time that I came to discover, is that she's so much more than a visionary, and that her true gifts go far beyond her ability to have visions and have direction. Her real gifts go about her ability to implement her visions and create a system of delivering them so that they're felt and they're actualized for the people who work with her and for the people she's trying to serve. I think in a climate where we focus so much on interventions and what works and what is best practice and what does the research show us, that too often we forget that if you focus on intervention without the implementation piece, a lot of times that the work that we're trying to do isn't being done. Much the way the best medicine doesn't help us but does get into our body, or we know Advil works great, but not if you rub it on your forehead. You need to get it into the place where it's going to help us. And one of the things which I really have appreciated and enjoyed working with Tamara is that there's never a loss of focus about that. If it's not doing what it's supposed to do, then we're not doing anything. And I don't think I've ever worked alongside anyone who has more gift and skill at teaching, training, creating teams, creating loyalty, creating family, to make that implementation happen. And that's one reason I have enjoyed being a part of what she's done and being able to put my name to many of the projects she's been a part of over the past 10 years. I first met Tamara in 2002 when I came on board the Door Hope program, which is a Salvation Army group home for foster teenage girls who are pregnant and parenting. And it was a very interesting place. I'd worked in residential, but never a place that had little kids around and teenage moms. Never a place where I was the only guy. And that was where I first started working with Tamara and first started to see just how amazing she was at what she was doing. And she was taking a place that had really traumatized, abused, and neglected girls. And she's not only creating a place that was safe for them, but creating a place that was safe for their children, and doing things to teach them healthy parenting in a way where we were actually making and chipping into that cycle of abuse that can go on from generation to generation. And I was really happy to be a part of it. I know that one of the things that was amazing that really speaks to that notion of implementation was that she and the team was able to create an environment there where it was a place for moms. And one of the things that was really great to see is that when girls would come in from juvenile hall and try to flash signs and try to disrupt things, the climate was such where the other residents there were the ones saying, look, this is where we live with our babies, and if you want to do that, well, you should leave right now. And encourage and the climate and the culture really brought on what we were trying to do. And I remember a quick story of that Tamara came to me laughing, and I said I was the only guy there, and she was laughing because if you could picture a group home that has not just teenagers, but also a bunch of little 3- and 4-year-old toddlers playing and rolling around, she came in laughing and she said, you're not gonna guess what I just heard. And I was like, what? She's like, well, I'm not gonna say their names, but there's 2-, 3-, and 4-year-old kids who are there, and I walked down the hall and they weren't used to seeing me and they weren't used to seeing a guy there, and one of the kids said to the other kid, who's that? And he said, he's the daddy. And I think the reason Tamara got such joy from that, it wasn't just because it was a funny and cute story, but because it was a validation of the fact that she implemented what she set out to do, which is she created a home. She created a home for people who really needed a home, and that was just evidenced by the fact that this is a home, so that man must be the daddy. In addition, she created and brought to the center through a $300,000 Cal Endowment grant, a PCIT program, a parent-child interaction program, which is cutting-edge treatment for teaching parents how to address behavioral issues through their children by strengthening their relationships with them. And that was a project that we got a very cutting-edge tech lab. We got training for myself and some of the therapists to do it, and was created in such a way with sustainability and with thought and foresight that 8 years later, I'm still doing it, and that lab has helped homeless moms and teenage moms to parent better over the last 10 years, up to, I think we're reaching over 100 people who are helped by that. And that's something Tamara does in her spare time. In 2006, Tamara moved over to San Diego Youth Services and started working at the Bridge Group Home, which was a 9-bed group home for both foster boys and girls, teenagers. And one of the things that was challenging about this group home is it wasn't a campus base, it was a house in the middle of a neighborhood. And and there weren't locks. One of the challenges with it was kids who were very transient, kids who were aggressive. It was a level 14 and the level 12 group home, which typically means the staff are required to restrain kids when they're becoming unsafe, and there was a policy here that we weren't going to do that. And that was something that Tamara kind of stood behind at that setting. And she really worked the same way she does, worked her magic, and she created a strong, loyal team. She trained people, she formed relationships with the staff there, she formed relationships with the students there, she built the program and created another safe haven. And that program, which went to one that the county was concerned about when she came on board, became one that was a model program, where they're actually sending people over to see what it was we were doing at the bridge, because whatever they were doing over there is what they wanted to happen countywide. One thing that speaks to that is, I think this is how I recall the information, but I believe we went on a stretch in a setting where there's usually turnover weekly or bi-weekly. I think we went on a stretch where we didn't have, not only did not one staff leave, but not one resident left for over a year. And the county was kind of saying, hey, we want to get our kids into the group home, is the best one going, and we need some beds, but there wasn't a need to, because kids weren't choosing to leave by running away, nor were they being asked to leave because they were acting in a way where they were unable to stay in this group home. And are there any gardeners out there? Well, if you're a gardener, you can imagine how hard it is to successfully grow things if you're constantly planting it and uprooting it and replanting and uprooting it. And one of the challenges we have with foster care is with a constant transient of planting and uprooting, that you really don't have time to grow. And so I like to think about the kind of growth and maturity that happened for those kids who were able to stay in one group home, a safe, consistent place for over a year, and start to focus less on where are they going to sleep that night or where are they going to score drugs, and really focus more about who they are and their future. Recognizing Tamara's talents, she was made in 2008 the interim assistant director for San Diego Service with the agency, because I recognize that this person really has these great skills at building and sustaining programs and making them really sizzle, making them really effective. She wasn't awarded that position because she was licensed out of state, but her license didn't transfer. But recognizing that she just had too much talent to return back to the bridge, they put her over not just the group home, but also their very large foster care system. In 2010, Tamara left State Youth Services to come here to Casa de Amparo, and well, you all know the rest of the story. When I heard she was leaving, I was excited because I knew the great reputation that Casa had, and I knew about their plans for growth, and I knew that Tamara would be able to use her gifts and her talents in a way where she can create and operate programs that are going to actualize and are going to expand. I knew that she'd be returning to the community she grew up in, that she'd be close to where she grew up, close to her family, which is something that was really special and important to her. But mostly I was happy for her because I knew with confidence that with Tamara at the helm of Casa de Amparo, that hundreds of our abused and our needy children were going to get the help that they really needed. So, on that note, I'd like to very, very proudly introduce the new Executive Director of Casa de Amparo, Tamara Fleck-Myers.